What's up, everybody? Rasate out here in Singapore. How's it going? I know quarantine is in full effect all across the world at the moment, and I know people are kind of climbing the wall. Some of us are having a really tough time sitting at home, not really being able to communicate or socialize or go out and see people. I mean, a lot of people at first, when we were told to stay home, the first thing they want to do was, well, look, who's drinking and where are we going? But even then, I know in Singapore, they've shut down all of the club life because they want to make sure that there's no more than a certain amount of people that gather together at the same time because it's dangerous. They don't want people collectively hanging around in order to reduce the spread of this virus. Anyway, meanwhile, a lot of us are struggling to keep the time and make sure that we're, being productive somehow, still being able to get all of our work done, as in like schoolwork or work, just trying to stay focused as much as possible without really annoying everybody around us. But it's kind of difficult. It's not one of those things that's generally easy to do if you're not already used to being by yourself or enjoying your own company. If you don't have a stack of things that you've been wanting to do that you've always said, hey, I didn't have the time to do it. What am I going to do now? Well, look, you don't have no more excuses. You need to get on it, right? But today, I actually really want to talk about relationships and how a lot of times we have interactions with people, right? And at some point, something you say is not going to be very good. It's not going to be right. It's not going to be on time. It's going to be offensive, whatever the case may be. But I need you guys to understand that you can be wrong without that meaning that you're a bad person. This is something that people tend to not remember is actually possible. A lot of times we get so caught up with our ego, like our sense of self, right? And when someone says, hey, that's wrong, or, oh my God, you offended me, we immediately take that to mean that, oh my God, that means I'm a bad person. Well, guess what? I'm going to fight tooth and nail to prove to you that I'm not a bad person. You are capable of being wrong about something or hurtful with the way you said something without that making you a bad person. It just means it was a poor choice of words, or maybe it was bad timing. Maybe your decision at the time was the best that you could have done, but now that you know that it could hurt somebody, this is a learning situation where you could actually adjust it for future reference. So I need people to really, really understand that you could be wrong without that meaning that you're a bad person. I see that most often in kids, actually. Let's give you my kid, for example. I know that if I tell her, hey, you didn't do this right, or you got the spelling word wrong, or maybe she did something a little funky with her math and it didn't turn out right, and she gets upset because she was off by only a couple of digits or whatever. But she needs to understand that whenever I correct her, that doesn't mean she's a bad person, or she's stupid, or she's not smart enough, or she just doesn't have the capacity, or she whatever the case may be, whatever excuse she might or label she might add to that. And I don't know what the teachers are saying to her, but I know she feels very badly. She takes it to heart. She takes it personally. She feels bad about it. But I need her to understand it is the behavior that I'm correcting, or the thought process that I'm correcting, so that you get the right answer, not the fact that you are, as a whole, blanket statement, as a whole, you're not a bad person. You made a mistake. You didn't know before. Now you will know because I'm teaching you, and hopefully going forward you will remember. I see this most often when it comes to her anyway. I see this most often with spelling. In English, oh my God, as many rules as there is just as many exceptions. And I know we get caught up with all of that. We forget, right? We forget that there can be exceptions, that there is, weird ways to make different sounds. We're taught to do vowel sounds first, and then we're taught to do consonants and combination consonants and all of those things. But for the most part, there's always an exception to the rule. Case in point, the sound sh has a sh. Depending on the word origin, it could be a ch, and then of course it could be a tion. Well, without the n, obviously, tio, right? So there are so many examples of that, but she gets frustrated because she doesn't know the rules yet. She hasn't seen enough words or practiced writing them enough times for her to know instinctively, hey, this is the way it's spelled, this is the way it looks, this is why it sounds the way it sounds. So she has a tough time, and unfortunately, she's at that stage, very, very egoic, but it is how she identifies with the world at the moment. She feels like if I correct her, and especially if I correct several words at a time because she's studying for a spelling test, she gets really upset and she feels like, oh my God, I can get nothing right. Everything I do is wrong. I'm just a bad person. I'm just stupid. And these are the labels that come out immediately when she's getting upset with me and she starts looking like she's about to cry. Because me, of course, I see the change in her face and I'm going to ask her what was wrong. What's the problem? And I've taken to asking her a specific question. What are you telling yourself right now? Because I need her to understand that what she's telling herself may not necessarily be true, but even so, what she's telling herself affects her entire body. It affects her immune system. It affects her, her emotions, obviously, because she's perpetuating whatever it is that she thinks is correct, and it hurts her feelings very badly and it affects her sense of self. So, with that being said, this is just one small example. It's very, very simplistic in nature. I need you to understand anything that happens that you are being told to correct or you're being adjusted on can feel like, oh my God, why are you upsetting me with this? Another example. I love graphic design. I'm not great at it. I kind of dabble a little bit, but I like helping people out. So I create flyers for certain people, and I know that I do a pretty good job. Now, me aesthetically, even though I haven't taken art or I haven't taken graphic design courses, I like for things to have balance of space and not so crowded with a bunch of words because I want it to be aesthetically pleasing. I want it to look nice on the eye, right? But I know that a lot of times when I create for somebody else, it doesn't matter what I think is beautiful. It matters what they think is beautiful. So it becomes this competition of, okay, well, you don't want it this way or you want something to be said a different way or whatever. And maybe it's not my English. Maybe it's Singlish that they're trying to speak in because you're kind of trying to, cater to the local crowd or whatever. And even though it is my piece of work that I put time and effort and heart into, when they correct it, I can't help but feel a little, put upon because they're critiquing my work. Now, I've had moments where I feel like, oh my gosh, it's real easy. I mean, you're not doing none of the work. It's real easy from your position to be able to critique what it is that I'm doing, whereas I had to sit down and put in the effort. I had to do the work, right? So I get upset sometimes. Even still, right? But I have to remind myself, hey, I'm not creating this for me. I'm creating it for someone else. In some cases, they're actually paying me. So guess what? I need to shut it up. I need to stuff my ego back down and do exactly what they ask for. As long as they're happy with the final product, it doesn't matter. I could care less if I'm, tagged on the piece that saying that I created it or whatever, because if I'm not completely proud of it, I'm not going to put it out there anyway. But if they're happy with it, hey, more power to you. But the point being that I needed to stuff my ego back down and realize that that doesn't make me a bad graphic artist. It just means that they have a specific idea of the way things should look and they've asked for it. So I'm just creating exactly what they asked for. Another example would be I have many, many, many conversations with my brother and my mom. Those are my two closest people in my entire universe, and those are the people I speak to the most often. Now, they've seen me at my worst. I mean, my ugliest. When I'm cursing up a storm, when I, resting bitch face, all of that. When I look like I want to murder everybody, they normally get nervous and they're like, oh my God, she's going to start World War III and we need to just chill. So the point being that when we have conversations and they tell me that I'm wrong about something, yeah, the ugly in me comes out, and most times I want to hit back, and I usually try and attack something about them so I feel a little bit more validated. But the point being that I need to remember, because I'm still human, I need to remember that because I'm wrong, it does not make me a bad person. We tend to assume things, right? When someone says, oh my God, you didn't do this and it hurt, there's a chain reaction or a domino effect or whatever that you didn't consider. And a lot of times I feel like, well, what are you trying to say? That I don't know how to take care of my stuff, or I don't know how to take into account other people's feelings? What are you trying to say? And that's not at all what they're saying. In that moment, the decision I made was not great. It could have been better. But at that moment, I need to be able to forgive myself and tell people, hey, you know what? At that moment, I did the best that I could. And going forward, I will take into account these things. But nah, ego gets in the way and I suddenly feel like, well, what are you trying to say? I mean, I've been on this earth for about 40 years. I know what I'm doing. What are you trying to correct me for? And it's just a matter of ego that is the self-preservation part of me that's trying to say, hey, you know what? I still matter though. Absolutely you matter. But we're not taught how to take criticism. We're not taught how to be corrected without taking it personally. So this is something I really want to ponder a little bit and take into account and understand that this does not make you a bad person. It means that the decision you made at the time was not the best and there is room for improvement. So I hope this makes sense to you. If you have any questions or concerns, please, as always, drop them in the comments. You want to talk to me directly? DM me, please. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you. But if you need help, if there's a specific situation that you're really trying to get through to someone on, hit me up. Let's talk. Let's talk strategy. Let's figure out how we can get to a position where both people can sit at the table and actually discuss something without getting offended. In the meantime, y'all, take care, breathe, and I will catch you again soon. Bye.